Okay. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, in honor of the original, unconditional, causal moment to all simulated, conditional, effectual moments, in honor of the higher order process, the original higher order process to all these simulated lower order processes, in honor of the unknown system admin to this known world. The questions of where power begins and what is empowering the realm to be anything at all, either limited to the box of conditions we're in, or it is more unconditional than our understanding. So in today's lecture, welcome everyone. There's like a Discord event in 2 hours from now. And in 7 days, everybody would have time to catch up with all the other talks. But today, I don't know why, but I guess I'm going to talk about loneliness. There's a quote by Carl Jung, okay? And the cool thing about the lecture today is I'm talking about a state. Welcome, guys, to the chat section, and, enjoy the lecture. Carl Jung, today's lecture is a tribute to an already uncovered from the unknown perspective. I am talking to, I'm commenting, most people comment on just objects and subjects. I sometimes find myself commenting on states, on states and modes of being. And so I know that there are invisible rules that are more immortal than us. And think of it like a dictionary. We are like part of the dictionary of existence. And I know that, there will be tons of other human beings that will enter this system, and they will emerge in patterns that could be similar or could be the same as now. They could, in some sense, play the same invisible roles. Now, what is a role? It is attendance to a situation, okay? In a condition. And I know that there will be people on this planet that will see in certain areas, not everything, but they will see through certain avenues deeper than others, and there will be a loneliness they will feel. Okay, and because I have felt this, I think it's important to acknowledge. Do you know? First thing a person has to understand, there is a distinction between the word solitude and the word loneliness. Okay? If somebody says, what's the difference, as someone who, in my youth, because I was introverted and shy, loneliness was normal. I had normalized that shit. And then I realized, okay, this isn't normal, But let me explain what is normal in a changing world anyways. So what I'm trying to say is that I have what loneliness is. Okay, the difference, let me start from here. The difference between the word solitude and loneliness is that solitude is a person being alone by choice. Imagine somebody is in a gathering, it's too heavy, too loud, and they leave let's say the gathering, or they go outside to get some fresh air. That intention is called solitude. The person wants to be alone. That's called solitude. But loneliness is when you don't want to be alone and you're alone. Okay? The cool thing about loneliness is that, dude, you're basking in desperation. Who are we kidding? Do you know? I know deep down, I somehow like trained in this life due to my introversion and shyness in accepting my own meaninglessness. But many of you who are not introverted and shy and you have been active in this system, you are not used to being nothing in the presence of nothing. Like that there's something else to that. And I know that these are sectors. To me, there's a sector of intelligence that is related to the biological human body. There's a sector of intelligence which is, in some sense, related to the capability of man's inner projection of reality. Okay? And then there's a sector that has to do with presence. If you go and listen to all these people talking about Eastern Enlightenment, you know what you're going to see? You're going to see they're going to talk about presence. It's like, yo, the guy from Europe, the guy from France flew to India in some like, some random dude's house, right? And the random dude's like, buddy, I'm enlightened. You don't know shit. Like, just come and be quiet and listen. And the person's like, yo, man, I've come from France to India, yo. I've come to get enlightened by your enlightenedness, O Guru. Enlighten me. And do you know what the gurus say? I'm not being disrespectful. Because I see further, I can be playful with it. Okay? The gurus, I have listened. One person many people don't know. I talked about him a lot in many talks. I remember even reading a book of his quotes. His name is Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. To me, he was a powerhouse of insight. You don't understand. This guy, the divine's intention with him, he was a cigarette salesman, man. He was selling tobacco in India. He was so poor. Okay, but he was very humble. And one day, one of his friends comes to Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj. He's not Shri yet. He's not even a Maharaj yet. He just comes to this dude. His friend goes to takes his friend, and in India, they had a culture. Of course, there's a caste system, and that kind of got out of control. But there's a culture of enlightened beings. And this is not just in India. This is everywhere. Okay, back in another side of the world, instead of calling it enlightenment in the Sufi, Dervish, more Persian side of the world, this is before Zoroastrianism. This is after Zoroastrianism. I'm not talking about the Zoroastrian Persian identity. But anyways, they were dudes who they were like, yo, man, they didn't use the word enlightened. They're like, that person has the pearl. That person knows the secrets of the cosmic situation, right? And so this dude from France, he goes to this enlightened guru, and the enlightened guru, like deep down, the enlightened guru is like, what the F are you doing here, bro? And the guy has never thought about it, and the person comes up to the enlightened guru, help me, man. I have problems, dude. I have ego, I have stress, I have suffering. I'm just not satisfied, And you know what the enlightened guru says? This is the mind-blowing part. It's like the enlightened gurus are standing there, not identifying with their personalities. And so many beings, that unknown beings, identifying with their personality, they come to the guru, and they're like, Guru, what is truth? And the guru's like, who are you before your personality? Just trying to make the being understand that you think truth is something a personality can have. It is a quality of how reality is present, yo. So in other words, the gurus would guide man to a presence that is not dualistically contained idea. It's not a dualistically contained idea. Okay, I'll go into Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj quote tunnel at the end. If I forget, remind me. If I But you'll see what I mean by how they answer. To me, I really deeply understood that. People don't know this. I'm like this Persian kid, but I would go automatically in samadhi. And meditation to me was never, robot, sit down and follow this program. It was never that. It was like, dude, I am attending an unknown event of life, and this is important, and I feel the moment is calling me this way. Do you understand? The dreams of the past are attempts at knowing destiny. But the future is not known by here, from here. In the same way, a photon, is like photons are, let's say, interpreting light as particles, and they move at this, and as you move closer to the speed of light, time stops. So photons are timelessly moving. The same light, like light is like immortally moving, like as if angels don't die, but man does. Yeah, I don't know if people know this. You're listening to a Muslim futurist, by the way, and when I say Muslim, I mean I believe that there's a system admin, not any attribute given to it, aside from just original agency. That means all these people are like, nah, man, I have this story to truth, I have that story to truth, and I'm like, guys, it's strange, but it's like there was an original, unconditional moment. That means the roots of this world are not temporary. This is an original simulation. What does that mean? That means to yourself you are simulated. You experience creation. But when you ask yourself, what am I beyond creation? How can you just be creation? The contexts that rule our lives also cover our eyes. But anyways, going back to it, I'll give you a perfect example, the way I interpret. And by the way, Carl Jung, again, this whole lecture is a dedication. I'm just sharing as many views I have to this quote by Carl Jung. If a man knows more than others, he becomes lonely. I want to explain that loneliness. I am on the verge. That means I've not only reached that loneliness, not only have I lingered in that loneliness, I am reaching a point where I am asking myself, what is there more than a looping human idea? Is there anything more here in this world than me just filtering everything that happens in the future in accordance to how I filtered reality in the past? It is a theatrical distraction. But I am realizing that I am becoming, how do I say it? It's becoming harder for me to talk to people. Do you understand? Because I begin to see the moment loop. You don't understand. In Assassin's Creed, the game, or even in Prince of Persia, like there was something like ego vision. Okay, these are video games. And ego vision meant the person suddenly noticed things that he didn't notice with normal vision. For me, strangely, by asking the question, which I have never, still to this day, I am not satisfied by any answer I've been given, I've received from this, as if, where are we? What are we? Why are we? No answers to all of them, but a lot of excuses. It's like if I imagine a child being born on this earth and being like, hey, whoever lived before I did, what is this place? And they're like, bro, it's called Earth. And the Earth is in the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way galaxy is in the observable universe. And the whole observable universe to us is 5% of everything. 95% we have no clue where we are. We're looking at the corner of a painting and assuming we know the whole picture, and we wonder why our lives feel off. Why something feels off about being a human in 2026. I'm telling you, when you really look at it, let me tell you this. You know what secrets are? The details. And what that means is, I'll give you an example. Like, we look at a tree, an object, like I'm looking at this object right now, we call that a tree. I can just be like, tree equals that object, done. That's what it means. Or I can keep looking at the tree. Keep looking at the tree and be like, why am I calling it a tree? What is it? Is it alive? If the tree was conscious and had a personality, would it identify as separate from the earth, or would it identify as the earth? Because we human beings are running a program that is so strange, and evolution doesn't make sense in explaining it. You're telling me after 4.5 billion years, the evolution was like, all right, man, let me notice all this suffering that I was unconsciously going through. Let me notice all this pain that was unconscious. That means memory is also torture. Can be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, and of course it depends on your decision and the quality of moment you create. People think that they're only doing things for who they are in the present and who is there present. No. You're also creating a memory your future self has to deal with. And I'm telling you, if you feel weak, it's like watching a YouTube video that is lower resolution. But strength is not just from the ego. And unfortunately now, it's hilarious. Do you understand? Like now, everybody's trying to be like, some playboy billionaire inventor. Like everybody's trying to be Tony Stark. Okay? They're like, that's what it means to be like, an advanced human. Do you know? That is what it means to be advanced only in a human system. Seldom is this said, but one of the most accessible secrets is the unexplainable nature of a changing world. It's changing. They're like, yo, man, let's put a colossal unknown verb into nouns so we can talk about it. And that's what knowledge is. They think they can hide. Like, let me tell you this. You know why I have confidence talking about Civilization 1.0 and 2.0? You know why I feel very comfortable and it's very easy for me to tell everybody you're all looping? You know why? It wasn't always like this. There came an insight. I saw deeper in a sight I already had. Okay? And I just asked myself, guys, let me tell you, you don't understand. I've had a sort of civilizational awakening this year. And I suddenly see, just like how Neo saw the Matrix codes, I can see humans looping. I can see the patterns looping. You don't get it, how heavy this is, because you're looping. You know? Let me tell you what it is. Imagine I go to Japan and I speak English, and instead of I choose to learn Japanese, I try to convince all of Japan to speak English. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? So now the human species speaks the human language, and everything else in nature is not human. Do you understand? And we're trying to make all nature speak a human language. We take pets and we humanize them. We don't dehumanize ourselves like animals. Do you understand? It's like, the dog bites our leg. We don't bite the man. Humans don't bite the leg of dogs. Do you understand what I mean? The relationship is very key, and equality can in some sense blur the value of the hierarchy. There will come a day where you will realize nobody is good and evil before they've done anything. Do you understand? Nobody is good and evil. It is the consequence of their action. I'll give you an example. One human being uses a knife to prepare like a Michelin star, what do you call it? A Michelin star meal. And one person uses a knife to like hurt someone or scare someone. Now, that knife has no good or evil to it. It's just an object. Just like words don't have good and evil to it. It's like, dude, the religions are just words and books. It's the humans that are acting a little crazy. Do you understand? It's the humans that they think that like, you don't understand how many humans on this earth, they say, I love God, okay, but they don't love God's creation. It's hilarious. That means if you love God, which means you love the cause of reality, how can you not love everything else, including the worst? Let me tell you guys like this, because to me, it's so funny. First of all, let me tell you how I don't consider myself ignorant. If they tell me, Mr. Within, what's the worst thing that can happen in life? I'll be like, the worst thing that can happen is, actually, we don't know if it's the worst, but to the ego, the worst thing it can happen is that the consciousness leaves. Like, we don't freak out when we go to sleep. It's not like it's like people are not screaming, oh my God, that person went to sleep. Their psychology is dead. Oh my God, they're just an object, breathing object. They have no personality in sleep. Do you know what I mean? We don't get scared when a person goes to sleep. We get scared when there is no longer that person. So let me say it this way, like, my talks, are more immortal than me. There will come a day where I will look at this world and my last command to it would be like my lectures, like a general of an army. I would look at all my lectures and I'd be like, go forth. One final command, and then I will go forth to where I need to be next. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are so many more things. Even ideas are more immortal. The prophets passed away, but what they brought is lingering. And to me, they're like, dude, why is religion divine? Because it's here. It's still here. You tell me, can anybody right now write something that all these years later it will be? No, it's going to, in some sense, get forgotten. Why? Because this is very hard to say. There was this story I remember reading. It was in ancient Greece, and there were these two brothers. One of them wrote one book in their life. The other was like, dude, this guy could talk. He went and in some sense sold so many, wrote so many books, went and gave so many talks and all of this. But at the end, the creator, the system admin, chose for the other brother's book to be carried on into the future. That means I have no idea what will happen. All that I have is probabilities. I'm like an archer that just can pull the bow back and aim. They're like, dude, what is life on Earth? Dude, I'm just aiming my energy. The question is where? Where are we aiming towards? Now, I keep forgetting, I gotta go back to Carl Jung. So let's look at examples. Let's try to look at examples of how the person who knows more, if a man knows more, he becomes lonely. Let's try to see how that's possible. Imagine, how do I say it? Like, imagine you've been to a restaurant and you want to go there as a group of friends, right? You've been to that restaurant, but all the other friends haven't. And then the other friends are like, should we go to that restaurant? And you're like, no, guys, don't go to that restaurant. And let's say you share your truth. And now imagine the friends are like, all right, man, I don't know. It's like, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's, the point I'm trying to say is the person who knows, who has had direct experiential access or expansion of the horizons of their perception. The person who knows the reality of a situation that others don't is alone, unless there's somebody else who's experienced it. When I was younger, I would look at Greta Thunberg, and my heart would be like, man, look at this, young girl freaking out, you know. But as I'm growing older, I'm like, yo, what a lioness behind her eyes. You don't understand. The system intentionally tries to convince you that your success is hard. Do you understand what I'm telling you? They're making success and truth harder than it is, so you think it's easier to loop. Even if right now, let's say somehow my talks were so revolutionary that, I don't know, at some point in the future, people were graffitiing, like, find Mr. Within on walls or something. Do you know? And imagine suddenly, at that point, let's say I had some sort of headquarters established or something, and imagine that's when, let's say, the shadow, the covert controllers come to acknowledge me. Do you know? And imagine they come. I'm just saying this ahead because it doesn't matter. But what I see is so much superior to any human institution's identity. You don't understand. The future of the human species is greater than everything we're seeing now. When you understand this, it's a game changer. If the evil ignorance, if the confused, let's say the unethically confused, if these confused, like, I'll tell you this way, there could be a powerful person and a weak person, and they can both be confused and have clarity. That means there's powerful people who have clarity, there's powerful people who are confused, there is, let's say, weak people who have clarity, and there are weak people who are confused. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You could be an evil billionaire, but it doesn't mean you calculated everything completely. So at least understand that we all have blind spots. Now imagine, let's say, some sort of, hidden ignorance approached me. Okay, and they were like, yo, man, we're evil, and evil has been controlling this, right? And we've culturally designed it this way as evil. And it needs to stay evil. Imagine they come and say this to me. And you know what I would say? I would say civilization is so much bigger. Nature cannot be controlled by forms and ideas. It is a force. It's like they're trying to control an invisible energy. It's like, good luck. You don't get it. So if they come, I'll say this. I'll be like, guys, sure, have whatever ego you want. In the same way you have freedom, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I don't care if you're demented or, kind and soul. You have freedom. You have freedom here. You have freedom to identify with any self. You can right now think you're an angel, you can think you're a devil. You can think you're Superman, you can think you're nothing. It doesn't matter. You can identify, simulate your psyche in any way you want. But we can't ignore the actual ontology. When I look at civilization, I will explain it. Doesn't matter, good or evil, or powerful or weak, it doesn't matter. Let me explain to you what we're seeing. Civilization 1.0, okay, is the first, think of it as a prototype civilization, okay? Yeah, it's like, think of it this way. An organism became conscious and managed to control itself. Now civilization is becoming more conscious and controlling itself. But its values are changing, and its values change in accordance to what all human beings see and decide. So I would say my strategy is this. Imagine, let's say there was an angelic general and there was a demonic general, and the angelic general had an army of angels, and the demonic general had all the army of the demons and all the army of the angels, and their generals were like in front of me. Do you know? And let's say poetically, I don't know, I somehow, I was silly enough to become, let's say, a general of humanity. Do you know? To me, I would look at those two generals and I would say you both have been purposed to intervene in mankind's affairs. Angels are forces that take us toward clarity. Demons are forces that take us toward ignorance. Okay? Now, what is man? I would look at those two generals and I would be like, listen, if angels want to fight demons outside of human territory, or if demons want to find angels, go to your private room. But right now, the human species is at such an important stage of development, right? That in some sense, I've given lectures on this, dedicated lectures to this, where I broadcasted. I was like, dude, what if everything's listening to me? And I commanded, not commanded, I said it in the presence of the system admin, and I said that in some sense, all on God, on, let's say, unauthorized intervention from chaos and order with the human experience, in some sense, I'm pretty much telling chaos and order, all chaotic and ordered entities in the cosmos, in all the dimensions, to stop the war of chaos and order and help humanity build the most advanced civilization, and then play and have a greater battle of advanced chaos and order. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see, guys, I am not a stranger to states of bliss. I have had moments where I felt something far superior to any idea I have ever had, and in the presence of that, tears arose from my eyes. Tears climbed down my face, like a mountaintop, in such speeds that it was as if I was not crying because I was upset or happy. I was crying because I was in awe. I was fascination struck. You don't understand how many moments have fascinated me beyond my identity. It's just we don't get it. We humanize everything to play a human game, but the human game is imperfect. Also, the natural game is too big for us to know if it's perfect or not. It's a very strange and unknown event, and culture has to, like, from one perspective, like, yeah, I understand. It's not like all control is evil. It's all control is based on identity. Think of it this way. In the study of control, there's two types of control. There's overt control and there's covert control. Okay? And I think covert control is a feminine art. And I think overt control is a masculine art. Okay? So overt control is like how the Pharaoh did it. The Pharaoh was like, yo, I'll whip you if you don't build the pyramids, for example. It was outer realm physical force control. For example, if a government activates martial law, which was what happened in Iran, people don't understand. Imagine like there's people in America and the US where they're like, the amendment allows you to have guns and whatnot, for example, in Texas, right? Right, and it's as if they are wary of like governmental control. The worst kind of governmental control is martial law, but it doesn't mean it's unjustified. Do you know if like everybody was destroying everything, the government would have to bring martial law. Do you understand? And what it means is it has to come and overtly control the situation. But now if the government is demented, okay, and hiding behind religion, which unfortunately, many people ignorant, unreligious. They're not even religious, But anyways, where I'm going with this is they force control, okay, openly. If somebody openly controls someone, that's an example of overt control. Now, covert control is so diabolical and is such a chaotic art form, and it's so hilarious because women, and I'm not saying this in a negative context, do not hear this in a negative context, it's more of, you should be fascinated, that in some sense, Well, women, how do I explain it? They can control emotions if the entity is not aware of its own emotions. You see, the male archetype hides its emotions to go and, in some sense, attend to what is there in the moment. It's like, dude, it's a battle. It doesn't matter what I feel. It's the battle. It's like my emotions based on the result of the battle, right? But from another angle, right, if that man doesn't know his emotions, doesn't know he needs to actually notice his own emotions, honor his own emotions, not just, the term people pleaser. Sometimes there's emotional pleasers. Just because somebody feels a certain way, we think that we have to feel like that too. I used to be someone, if you cried in front of me, I'd be crying beside you. But now I'm like, what the like, what? It's like I let people be in their own rooms. It's like, and in some sense, manipulation is heavy, but it's understandable because back in the day, also men were savage. So women had to psychologically break the man to, in some sense, be able to feel safe around the man, right? And that was important. But on some level, we're in a modern time. We're not those ancient dudes, dudes and gals. We are modernity, meaning that we are legit standing on a terrace where we can Terrace, terrace, right? And we're seeing from this balcony the future of humanity. It's like vertically we're in the present, but horizontally we're freaking seeing the future. Okay? So now hear me out. We're going to dive into covert control. And let me explain covert control to you, because you should think about it not like, oh, bad. You should think about it that if you were right now trying to create, for example, the greatest defense system, you would also have to think of the greatest way to destroy it to counter that. You understand? I'm not saying be evil, but I'm saying if you're a good person, there's nothing wrong with what, for a second fathoming. Okay, if there was an evil variation to this, what would that look like? It doesn't mean you should act upon it. What you act upon, you should be very careful, because human decisions aren't just outer realm changes. A decision is like a different animation of being. Okay? Now, covert control, how does it happen? Covert control is out of the hands of an individual. I believe this. I believe that it doesn't matter, even if you were an evil person, maybe you could influence a certain range of people and maybe inject a false memory, okay, or whatever, tell like a false story, but nature heals itself. The body heals itself, and believe it or not, nature heals itself. Okay? It is just that we are building faster than nature is healing itself. If mankind was gone, like in my strategy of Civilization 2.0, I say that all human beings should go and live in the sky. Like Civilization 2.0 has 3 phases. Phase 2, humanity arises into the sky, if I remember correctly. When humanity lives in the sky, the Earth becomes our backup planet. That means nobody intentionally lives on Earth. We're all living in the sky. Wildlife and everything is restoring, right? And if we don't find another planet to inhabit, we always have an elf. We always have an Earth. Oh my God, the Earth self. Elves were like senses of self of the Earth. I don't know. Maybe that's too far. Trying to explain, mythological lore, why, it's like, why were elves, why did elves have beef with dwarves? Oh yeah, elves psychologically saw dwarves as demons. Like, I'm not even kidding. But also dwarves had an ego, like they were the opposite. The dwarf was like the manifestation of the ego. The elf was the manifestation of, like, let's say wise. Elves are known to be wise, you know. But what happens to wisdom? If it's not understood, it gets crushed, There was all this Native American wisdom, and instead of Columbus understanding where he stepped in and tried to truly integrate and understand, he was like, bro, we've been on voyage 80 days. We're probably all psychologically crazy now. I just freaking want to, I just want a house to sleep in. Like, that dude was tripping. There's no way you could be on boat for this long and step on land and be a normal person. Okay? And people don't know this. Columbus was looking for paradise. He wasn't looking for, the new world. Was this dude legit believed like the Garden of Eden was a location? This is going to sound a bit bizarre, but I don't know where I read this years ago. It was as if he was looking for, okay, whatever, I'm not going to get into it. If you search it, he was looking for an island shaped like a body part. Okay? Which he assigned a sort of, religious significance to. He was looking for paradise, this dude, but he didn't, and he acted like hell. The paradise he found. It's like he was looking for paradise, but he found a bunch of weird people instead, and he was like, "This is hell," and he just guy went crazy or something. Anyways, let's go back to covert control. There's a quote by a scholar where she says, small minds talk about ideas, average minds talk about, excuse me, what am I saying? I said it wrong. Small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, great minds talk about ideas. And let me tell you what advanced minds do. They don't talk about, they acknowledge states. It's like, dude, I wasn't happy. I was just being a state of being in that moment. We can zoom in on any part of the painting and feel like that part of the painting is more important than any part, but it is an occurrence beyond us. Like, do you understand? Like, being on Earth is not like you're on a rock in the middle of nowhere. It's like you're on a living being. It's like where we found ourselves, we opened our eyes on a giant's back, and all the atheists and materialists are like, nah, dude, there is no giant. And I'm like, no, there is. There is a giant animation of an unknown force moving all of this. Like, why is it changing? Somebody tell me, why is change necessary? Why couldn't it all start in heaven? And to me, there was a time before 2023 where I was like, dude, what is religion? Right? Is it like, they say God is testing man, but what is that test? Are we like factory creations? Like, imagine a factory, they generate product, they manufacture products, and those products that are in it like defective or something, they throw away into a box, meaningless box. And I'm like, what is that? Is it that those who are worthy, they pass, and those who are unworthy? And I think we're being tested to, in some sense, see that if there is something truly divine to us, can it also see that divinity within the rest of it? That means if right now we're in the 5% of the observable universe and 95% we have no clue, but it's there somehow. In that 5%, we know that there's intelligent conscious activity. We know that there are fields. And we know that what differentiates human consciousness with, let's say, lesser animal consciousness is that animals do not know, one, they are temporary. They don't acknowledge mortality in the way we do. Do you know? And two, their environment dictates their will. Now, the whole point of being a modern human being, which none of you are being actually, do you know, is to in some sense be a type of intelligence that the self started giving meaning to the environment. It's like, what? The world is just telling me what to do? Wait a minute. I can tell the world what to do. But now the story we tell the world, or how we want the world to be, is very different than what the world is. That means the world is double-faced. And people are like, what is it? You're saying it's a two-faced world. I'm saying, no, it's not like it's good and bad. I'm saying it's double-edged, like a sword. I see this world as a sword. I see the inner realms and outer realms as edges of a sword. From one edge, reality, I'm an object in a objective place. From another angle, I'm a subject in an unknown viewing place. Okay? And for me, I was like, there's something weird about normality, man. When we're younger, we're all like, we want to be normal, dude. We want to fit in. We want to be accepted by everyone. And I'm like, somebody tell me, what is normal about 8.1 billion, beings, in a world that they can't see the edge of, and everything's changing. There is nothing normal here. Wake up. Wake up how you have allowed what you have considered to be the normality of civilization 1.0 to not allow you to activate yourself in a way that is new. Every day that you do something others have done, you have missed out on why you had a DNA nobody else did. The birds fly away when the voice raises. But it's fine. Pigeons only want seeds, but advanced humans want an advanced civilization. You guys, think of it this way. The alpha archetype is, in some sense, not individual power. It is not individual success. It is not individual victory. Individual victory is fine if you were stranded on an island and there was nobody else. Collective victory. Okay, now going back to covert control and how it relates to the topic, let's think of it this way. So to talk about covert control, think of it this way. If you want to control people, you should control the event, which is the story people tell themselves. And if you want to control the story, you should control the ideas and the values that generate the story. And really, what life is in its truest and purest and furthest reaches of a way to look at it is you realize everything is based on values. From the moment you open your eyes, you're getting a value proposition. And the realm visits you every day, as if like every day I wake up, it's not like I just woke up to the world. Every day I wake up, everything in existence looks, walks up to me through my sight and tells me, what do I mean today? What do I feel like today? So many days I've woken up and I'm like, yeah, I'm still the same person, but feeling wise, I have never been the same. No day has felt like the next ever, but subjectively, yeah, they have been similar. Civilization 1.0 feels alone. Okay, and what's going to happen for the future generations is that they're converting into beings that are deciding based on their emotions. Right now, civilization is being regulated in accordance to our, let's say, inner realm thinking or thoughts, okay, to our ideas, okay. Right now, our ideas and how they cause us to act, cause us to change the system through our action. But I'm telling you, in the future, because they're becoming less intellectual, these children who are going to become politicians of the world in the future, far future eventually, right, they're deciding based on emotion. And an emotional person is closer to their heart than an analytical person. You don't understand. To me, anytime I analyze thing or something, or try to come and explain the geometry of something, it feels less, the energy is different than moments where I've envisioned something deeply through the eyes of my heart, and that feeling is so pure that the words instantly march out, you know? Now, when I say covert control, it's like being like, dude, I'm a person. So what event is controlling me? Oh, and what idea is controlling how the event controls me? And oh yeah, how did the ideas arise? And as you reverse engineer knowledge, you go back to the unknown. And you realize as knowledge speeds up, imagine it starts civilized. This is like a vision of a type of advanced civilization, that it is advancing at the speed of light, and it vanishes. It vanishes to where it was born. And we should not forget the quote, the ancient quote. It's such a beautiful quote. It says, when the child is born, the child, everybody laughs, everybody rejoices, and the child cries. All right? Everybody's happy the child is born, but the child is crying, And then, the second part of the quote is very heavy, and it says, when the child that has become a man dies, that's when the world cries. And that soul laughs and rejoices. And they took that greatness from 8.1 billion beings, and they have looped the attention of souls that they did not create. And they're like, Mr. Within, what should you do? And it's like Islam is holding me back in a beautiful way, because they're like, yo, are you gonna go defeat chaos, or are you gonna let the creator of it handle it? The hardest thing in this lifetime of mine was to see civilization like a sinking ship, and they're like, have faith in the system admin. And because I know, I have had an experience, I know there's a system admin here, all that I can do is like, what is the win-win? They say, be merciful to God's creation, and the Creator will be merciful to you as a creation. And I ask myself, is it mercy? I watch it loop. Makes me shake. You don't get it. Imagine, I don't know if people know this, but 100% this is in human psychology. It has to be that there's moments where somebody sees something so shocking, so unbelievable, that they're trembling, their body's trembling, but they're vibrating as if between two realities. Why can't we envision flying cars? And yet there are no flying cars. Why can't we envision sky cities? Why did Star Wars condition all of us to see interstellar cities? And we think the world is too populated. Let me tell you, there is no such thing as overpopulation. We just need to learn to live in the sky. And that means endless place to live. That overpopulation has never been a problem. You don't get it. Overpopulation can be a problem for those who want to control the population. It's like, okay, it's too big to keep in a simulation, inside a simulation. You know what I mean? So think of it this way. Imagine I'm someone, and I don't want to be controlled by people. I don't want to be controlled by anything, imagine. Okay? And so I'm like, dude, if I wanted to control myself outside of myself as a person, how could I control myself? Right? And I would be like, I could control it by force, or I could plant a seed that will end up being the same result as controlling that person by force. Right? That means if you want to break civilization, plant seeds of chaos. Do you know you want to build civilization, plant seeds of the potential greater order? They're like Mr. Within. Do you know? Why do you care about a changing world? Because it's too specific. We are too specifically designed. It's too designed. That's the clue. That's the divine clue. Its existence is too specifically designed. That means it's specifically purposed. There's something we are purposed here for. Do you know? It's like, I don't know who sponsored me, but I'm suddenly a project manager on Earth, managing first the project of self, and then the project of species, and then the project. It's like first, it's like it's like unite yourselves, sense of self, and then in some sense go and unite Earth, mankind, and then humankind, and go unite Earthkind. That means after, like, my strategy is like this. I'm pretty much, I have a vision. I have my work in this lifetime. They're like, all right, man, like, what was your contribution to history? I'm just some dude who has seen a strategy, a way. I have found a strategy. I saw a strategy 3,600 years from now. I saw something and I managed to figure out, see the rest of it from up to here. In the same way, like right now, you can see your past. Many of you don't understand that you are being your future self's memory right now. Emotionally, you can feel how you're being remembered by a you that doesn't exist yet here. But the future self of every conscious conditional entity is a return into the original state. Just like, believe it or not, chess, everything came out of the box. A game is being played and everything goes back into the box. But who was playing the game? We thought it was just self and world, and then we realized no. It's the soul and the Lord of Worlds. I thought I was born to just meet humans. To just, just notice this level of intelligence. But I don't know why. I really don't know why. That to me, I have realized that no, I'm not just here as a user, as a simulated user, to interact with other simulated users and co-simulate new realities with them. I am here to meet the architect, to meet the creator. That means they're like, dude, if you think about it, everybody in the afterlife goes and meets the system admin. The issue is we're not God conscious now, or we're not, as simulations, conscious of the original state now. But where was the world born in? A conditional world was born in an unconditional moment. And our bodies are conditionally born from the world, inside the world, but our souls were also from the original state. That means if somebody's like Mr. Within, even though you're Muslim and in Islam the soul is unknown, how much of your own soul, let's say through the system admin's mercy, have you seen? If somebody's asking me, let's say somebody asks me, okay, what do you know about the soul? I can tell you that I thought that I am a soul for a long time, until I realized the soul is a divine command. God in the Holy Quran, in some sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says be and it is. It's an absolute being. Instantaneously existence is there. And then God can choose to make steps and something like that, in some sense, make it this and do that. But God has an ability to instantaneously create. If he's creating in steps, it's most likely to show other creation or whatnot, how he's creating. Do you know? So to me, as a Muslim, if they're like, dude, do you know your soul? I'm like, you're asking me, do I know how an unconditional, original being commanded me into a simulation? I will tell you, I know it in the sense that I know that the unknown is more than the known. If I want to access the whole world, I cannot ignore my unknown self. I cannot ignore how there is intelligence moving in an unknown way in the same way that I am limiting all of it to a known way. You understand? It's all about what are we in the presence of? And it goes beyond ego. There will come a day where you will get bored of like winning as an ego or even losing as an ego. Like once you see both sides, you get bored. It's like somebody who's been losing arguments. He's like, yo, man, I want to see what winning an argument is like. And somebody who's been winning arguments, he's like, dude, I've been winning too long. Like I need to lose an argument. I need to see what the other side feels. I need to realize that I should never let one side of the coin of this world to possess me, from realizing it is double-sided in the sense that greatness is present, the original state is present even before the simulated state was here. That means if we really want to talk about covert control, it's going to go into the domains of philosophically. It's going to go into the domains of metaphysics, which means the system admin has controlled all creation by commanding it instantaneously. The command is the control. In other words, destiny means that we're all already controlled, but it is a metaphysical context. That means we don't understand it. That means if God is present in the room, in the Holy Quran in the Islamic universe, it says God is closer to you than your jugular vein. If you go see how Michelangelo, I think it was Michelangelo, he drew this picture called, I think it's in the Vatican or somewhere, Sistine Chapel, I don't know where it is, but it's this picture of the creation of Adam. It's such an incredible painting, And it shows that Adam is standing oblivious and God's finger is like, I don't know, centimeters or millimeters away from, in some sense, the hand of Adam. And Adam can't see God, but God is right there. And faith is like, yo, it's like you're distrusting something that you think you know, but it's only in the limited 5%. Really, what all of us seek is something that money can't buy. It is authentic, intelligent interaction. In the same way, like, if you don't treat someone human, they dehumanize. Okay? And that's the tragedy of poverty. Do you understand? Poverty is like human beings at the edge of a cliff, and in some sense, if they fall, they dehumanize. And when you dehumanize, you hate what dehumanized you. You hate what you controlled you without you realizing it. But you need to be wiser than hatred's response. You need to ask yourself, where is the value? There is the value. And this is where all that Mr. Within is saying, you're all born as beings that have never existed before. You are existing in a moment that nobody else is in. You have eyes and you've lived a life that nobody has seen other than you secretly behind your eyes. And you have a choice. Go loop and do the same things as Civilization 1.0. Let me do the pros and cons list. What are the pros of fitting into Civilization 1.0? You get to access it, but you are enslaved by it. And you are enslaved to loop in it. What's the advantage of Civilization 2.0? You are alone. You know why? Because your loneliness converts into solitude. Because you no longer fear being itself. Human personality is like a unique program that's like only these bunches of states of being I identify as. I have no clue who any of you are. And that's what makes it interesting. If I knew who all of you were, everything I know, I wonder about its extension. Life is kind of like you can give it whatever answer. You can close the system anytime. I can stop caring to know more. But the purpose of knowledge is to realize the unknown. And I'm like, yo, man, if I ever had an army, you know how I would train them? If I was a general of humanity and they're like, yo, man, how would you train, let's say, the human empire? How would you train humans to be advanced beings? I would, in some sense, make them realize that the unknown is where the permission of novelty arises. Somebody in the chat section says, have a kid, that loop is destroyed. No, that loop, I know. I know that loop. The younger generations exist to behave in new ways to destroy the loops of the past. Very great observation, but that is not the case. Sorry, not that is not the case. That there's something more to this. Let me explain how. Okay, every generation, in order to be to function in civilization 1.0, needs an identity. So think of it this way: human beings are being born, and it's like character development. That's what youth is. You're developing your character. Now, what are you developing your character based on your experiences? What is your experiences? You're experiencing an environment. What is that environment? It's a human system. Where is that human system? In a natural system. So you are being unnaturally humanized in civilization. You're being actually, how do I explain it? It's like energy. We gave energy a personality, and that personality took itself too seriously, and it forgot that it was the presence of energy before it was an idea that had to cry for itself or laugh at itself. By the way, can the viewers hear the music? So let's go back to the universe of loneliness. And so what does it mean if you suddenly advanced? You saw further than those around you. This is what I'm learning, and maybe after the long break, when I come back to give these talks again, I might be able to explain it better. But neither a form, neither the forms in front of our eyes, neither the forms behind our eyes, neither both at the same time. O humanity, you have been an awareness on a worldly level. We are like the world being human, and the world is like it's like the original state being a simulation. It's too game-like. Like, am I the only one who feels like it's a video game? We log in every morning, we log out every night. 16 hours we're playing this video game. And in these 16 hours that we play this video game, we go and do different quests, and we get different rewards. We can choose to fight and, lose durability, or we can choose to help and in some sense gain allies or whatever. But to me, it's very game-like. And I'm like, okay, if this was a video game, what is the point of everybody on the map? And this is where it gets interesting. Life is a video game that the people in the game can also contribute to creating it. And human civilization is like we created our own levels while there were all the levels of nature. And look at what's happened. Human beings are living in houses. We used to, jump from trees and, throw dirt at each other. What happened? Oh, yeah, like millions of years of evolution. But still, what happened? you know? You know what freedom means? I firmly believe there's two types of freedom. Covert control is the illusion of freedom. That means this is the worst kind, like this is savage control. This is like S tier way of controlling, okay? Where you make the person believe that they are free, and yet they are doing what you want because you engineered culture to make them see no other story. Yo, you guys can't hear the music. They're like, Mr. Within's hearing music in the interrobes. No, guys, I'm actually playing music in the background. Like, you guys should hear it. Can you hear it now? Whatever. Okay, 86%. Let me readjust the microphone. I don't know if this is better. Probably it's the same, but whatever. So, what else can I say about loneliness? Okay, they're like, be vulnerable, bro. All right, man, I'll be vulnerable. I have been tortured. Like, to me, I am no stranger to states of anguish. I have had, you know how they say people have panic attacks? I have had existential panic attacks. Do you know what that means? That means I suddenly panic that existence is not what I know it as. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? You know, it's like you don't understand. It's it's like simulations inside simulations, but it's easy to manage them by thinking they're all one reality. To me, it's like an unknown event is happening, an unknown movement, and we're like, yo, just because I'm shaped, I know this. They're like, this guy's an expert on an invisible reality that he only sees. I'm like, buddy, that's called human personality. Everybody is starting in their own world of meaning. That means, and you know what's funny? Let me tell you why I say it so easily and boldly that you're all like Civilization 1.0 zombies, and you think that it's like, survival. I mean, like here, there's basics, right? We got to drink water, right? We got to eat food. We got to sleep, you know? We got to, like, these are repeat things. Okay, like if you don't eat food, you know what I mean? If you don't repeat it like out in the outer realms, we're conditional entities and we're adjusting to the conditions. And I'm not telling you rebel against like the outer realms. I'm just saying that instead of rebelling, wonder what other contexts can the concept of you activate in. You know? Let me say it this way. This is how you know someone is a looping civilization 1.0 zombie. When you talk to them, there is nothing new. There's nothing new in what they say or do. It's the same emotions, same values, same problems, same vibes. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? It's like as much in my inner realms, I'm seeing an advanced potential. I'm seeing the advanced version of the person in my inner realms, but in the outer realms, the person only believes they're their past. It's like, yo, man, when are you going to notice the future has always been knocking on a door that destiny has already opened? What are we all doing here? They're like, oh my God, Mr. With this having an existential panic attack mid lecture. It's like, you know what's good about, screaming in your inner realms? You don't have to worry about others hearing it. Guys, that's me being silly. Don't scream in your inner realms, but it is better to handle violence behind your eyes than in front of it. And always remember what Isaac Asimov said, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. You know who becomes violent? A cornered animal. And people think violence is power. No, no, no. Self defense is power. But to start violence, then that's invasion. Do you understand? Like human beings, the way I see human, like I don't have kids, but if I did, I'd be like, hey kids, imagine there's an invisible circle, there's like a bubble or a sphere around everybody, okay? And that is how their inner realms extends to their personal space, okay? That means everybody's like, imagine everybody's in a sphere. Everybody, and people, every person you see, they're starting in their own universe, own inner verse. You understand? And the fact that we think we understand each other, that's one of God's miracles. Oh my God. Somebody says, realizing the gift that is from within, mister. It's like, bro, don't get into, a wordsmith battle, I could be. I don't consider, to me, I have a love and hate relationship with language. When I see people thinking their language, I'm like, you disgusting animals. When I see people use language and they realize that communication doesn't replace the entity, somebody could come and communicate nice things but be like demented. Somebody could act demented but actually be a nice person and they were just scared in that moment. you know? Yo, the chat's bringing quantum physics into this. Now somebody says quantum coherence. Yo, man, I'm going to use that. There's going to be a moment where somebody's going to ask me a question and millions of people are like, I'm on stage, you know? Imagine on, like, I have the microphone, it's after a talk. And somebody asks me, I'm reading this from somebody who wrote this. Somebody wrote quantum coherence in the chat section. And I'm saying, guys, imagine like I've just given a lecture and it's Q&A and like millions of people, like it's a stadium and somebody's asking me a question. And they're like, they ask the most complicated 10 minutes, like 15-minute of a question. Like that's actually maybe a world record of how long the question could be. Do you know what I mean? But imagine that question they asked me. Imagine at the end of it, I just looked at them and I said quantum coherence. And then I dropped the microphone and I left. Yo, that made my day, whoever wrote that. But you know what I've realized about, my regular listeners? You're still zombies hiding. They're like, dude, do you believe in ghosts? And I'm like, that's what my viewers are in when I look at it. They're ghosts until they animate. Do you understand? Like, you guys don't get it. Like, you guys are like digital ghosts right now listening. Okay? Because I have no idea how you look like. You have no embodiment to me aside from like your YouTube avatar. Do you know what I mean? Like your YouTube profile photo. So, and they're like, dude, what's a human? It's a ghost with a body. It's like, okay, let's relax out of the word ghost. You know what I mean? Like ghosting should just be limited to texting. You know what I mean? Or phone contact. It's more than that. Like, it's not our jurisdiction. They're like, do you believe in ghosts? And imagine I'm like, dude, I sometimes ask if ghosts believe in me. Oh man, that's so funny. Holy shit. If I had entered stand-up comedy, I think the microphone would in some sense like, dissolve into light at some point. They're like, yo, the jokes are so pure. Like this stand-up comedian is going into Mahasamadhi, dissolving into a higher dimension. To me, everybody is here to do some kind of work. In ancient alchemy, it was called the great work. Ancient alchemy considered a transmutation of the soul. Okay, and so this concept of within, if you were like an alchemist, right, what you would see is they had this ancient idea that lead could turn its whole nature into gold. So they could turn lead into gold. Okay? Now, this wasn't just a physical thing for them. This was a metaphor that the simulated entity in a lost world, the lost soul, the lost simulated soul, okay, the lost soul in a simulated world, just like how lead could change its nature from within and become gold, okay, the ego could in some sense transform into like a higher state of awareness to things. Like, I don't just have a human relationship with myself. I have an energetic relationship. I have even a geometrical relationship. I'm like, dude, I'm not just being a human. I'm being energy right now, yo. I'm also being geometry right now, yo. I'm also being like, something. There's so many layers to this. I'm like, scientists are like, guys, we're gonna explain everything to you, but let us first handle this infinite fractal way we can see inside everything. Like, it's endless. Intentionally, this system is designed so that you cannot find freedom in the outer realms. The outer realms is you find infinity. If they're like, yo, man, Mr. Within, where's the best place to find infinity? I'll be contrary to what mathematics would tell you. It is in front of your eyes. That's the coolest state of infinity to me. Like when you wonder about the edge of the world, it's like, dude, we can't see that far, but we know there is space. Like, what was it? Voyager 2, like a while ago, left our universe. Do you guys know what that means? That means we sense something outside of what we can observe. It's fascinating. We just sent a random signal, you know? I ask myself, why was it so easy? I was born in Iran in 1991. Why was it so easy for me to accept that I was Iranian? And then I was raised in Canada and I became a Canadian citizen, you know? I became a Canadian citizen when I was 7 years old, actually, but I'm saying that I was raised in Canada and I was like, okay, I'm okay. Right now, why is it so easily I'm Canadian now? Right? It's like I'm wearing an invisible jersey of a nation, of nations right now, of two nations. I'm hybrid. I'm between two. I've seen, and it's hilarious. I've actually experienced an Islamic culture and I've experienced a Christian culture, you know? And at the same time, the system was like, all right, time to give 10,000 talks. And I was like, really? They're like, and you don't get it, that every soul is here for some work. And you cannot do any good work if you don't trust the moment. Like, I think most of you would agree. Okay? So the identification, like right now we're identifying as characters in a story, and these characters are in the story are identifying with painted chunks of land. In the future, they will extract their identity not from what part of the earth they were born in, which we've overlaid a specific abstract meaning, but it will be a member of, you will reach a species level. You will realize, like, for me, like, I would probably wait to see when will my children come to me and be like, yo, it's like the species is here, Dad. What's happening with that? You know what I mean? I'm just waiting. Like, I don't even have kids yet, but I'm waiting for my kids in the future to go and ask. And let me tell you, let me go back to this. Okay, let me go back to the topic. Oh my God, it's been an hour. Time dilation for the win. I thought it was 15 minutes. No, I'm kidding. It didn't feel like 15 minutes, but it didn't feel like an hour either. Listen, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that, have you heard this expression, get real? Have you heard that expression? Okay, now imagine, like we say get real to the human species. Do you know what this means? That means we understand all wars between all nations has been species civil war. And if we identify not with chunks of land, but with the living species itself, we make the biological, natural human experience more important than gold. That means it's like, dude, recalibrate. Like right now, you don't understand. The evil people thought they can just come and do something evil. No, you made this ship, this spaceship Earth, go out of control. Now, both inner crew and outer crew all must assist. That means it's no longer like generals in a battlefield in an army. It's like some dude being like, yo, all crew members of Spaceship Earth, okay? Inner crew, like realign, outer crew realign. Do you understand? The outer crew are those who in some sense, how do I say it? They're in some sense serving the outer realms of civilization. Right? The inner crew are those who are serving the inner realms of civilization. Back in the day, one person held many roles. Many invisible roles was assigned to one individual. But now we've overpopulated and it's become easier for everybody to be a specific role. But you don't understand, our ancestors were polymaths in ancient times. Do you know they would speak in verse? Have you seen, go watch a Muhammad Ali interview. Do you know? When you see how Muhammad Ali speaks, he speaks in verse. It's as if there's a rhythm. You don't understand, this art of speaking through rhythm is ancient. And it's trust, just like a surfer trusts a wave. Many of you don't trust your intelligence, so you don't access it. You don't activate it. You don't understand how much more advanced you are than any idea that has convinced you it's you. Be free find an unconditional freedom before the conditional freedom. And the unconditional freedom is not here. Not here, not that it's not here. It is not limited to human analysis. Guys, the human being is like a program, okay? It's reprogramming everything in a humanized way. We take a random animal, put it in bring it into our lifestyle at home, and it's like, dude, that's not a pet. That's Sally, our friend. Do you know what I mean? We humanize the world. There's kids when kids hold toys, a teddy bear, right? And the kid's like, yo, this is my best friend, Mr. Cuddles or something, or whatever. I don't know what we call teddy bear or something. Do you know what I mean? And so the child has given life to that, has given behind its eyes, that object is not an object, it is alive. I remember when I was a kid, very young, my parents only bought this thing, which was this strangely hilarious design of a penguin. They pretty much took like a ball of yarn, a giant ball of yarn, made that the body of the penguin, and just designed just the very top head of it, but it was made of the softest material. Like, I don't know. It was like this, to this day, the softness of that material, I don't know. I wish I cared about its material composition then to know what it was. Right? And it was like just this fat penguin, okay? And I remember when I was very young, I would have that fat penguin in my, what do you call it, in my bed, and I would just be like, okay, I'm not alone. There's another thing here. There's something else here. What did that dude in Castaway do? Right? Well said. Do you know what I mean? He humanized an object. And we are sophisticated unknown forces moving these life forms, and we limit ourselves to just the human narrative, but the human narrative was forged in a place that was not human. Just like you got to maintain yourself, there's the concept of self-care, there's psychological self-care, right? There's certain things you got to do to remain human to yourself. Man, there's this quote. Let me see if I can find it. It's a quote about loneliness. I think it's solitude. It's such a next level quote from a Greek philosopher. Let me just find it. Yeah. So this quote is from Aristotle. Okay, and it's a famous maxim from Aristotle's Politics, Book 1. Okay? He says, whosoever is delighted, Aristotle says this, whosoever is delighted in solitude is either a wild beast or a god. Do you understand? That means it's not human. And when I was introverted and shy, I had normalized a dehumanized state. And then I realized there was a blessing to it, strangely, even though it felt like a curse for a long time. It felt like an exile. It felt like I was in some force field, something, the force field was inhibiting me to be me. Okay? That's how my child, when I was very young, like an introverted and shyness felt. I felt like I couldn't do anything, so I just accepted not being anything. And so I was more like a silent observer rather than a participant in my own life. And nobody snapped me out of it. I had to go through it. So solitude is by choice. Solitude means like, you know what I like right now I'm saying, like in 7 days I'm gonna go on a break. You know what that is like to me? That's like me being like, all right, I have attended to this universe, but deep down in my heart, what other universes do I feel I need to attend? Like I have this feeling that like I'm not in the main room of my own life yet. It's very strange. It like I feel like how do I explain it? Like my inner realms had seen this moment a long time ago, and how this moment has happened is it is a different variation. That means it's like, honestly, giving these lectures feels like I'm tunneling through a simulation. Legit, like with a pickaxe. Every day I wake up and I'm like, what else is there, yo? What else? I've seen the past. It's in some sense the past itself. Okay, the past is past. We're left in a present and we're giving everything in the present meaning just from the past. Then why is the future here? So let's look at the true nature of the future and realize how attention is forging momentum for itself. Where do we limit greatness? Is greatness limited to the human being? Or is it limited to the intelligence of that being? And what is the whole point? They tell us, like, so hear me out. Back in the day, they were like, yo, we got souls, yo. You know, this moment has soul, right? And back in the day, they believed in souls. Now, look at what happened. Institutionalization happened. They separated it. You were like you were one pure force living in an impure reality, you know, and then now you are fragmented. Do you understand? Where we're like, yo, this is our body, that's our mind, that's our soul. You know what I mean? But on some level, the reason these dimensions have separated, okay, is so that each can activate the whole. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. What is the value of knowing you have a body? What is the value of knowing you have a mind? What is the value of knowing you have a soul, or you are a soul, or you are a mind, or you are a body? The value of it is the potential. So they took the idea of the soul, this unknown force reincarnating from life to life, but the soul doesn't change. Excuse me, the soul doesn't die. It just changes from one form of life to another form of life, right? And then they're like, dude, the scientists think they were geniuses. The scientists are like, yo, man, let's strip away personality and call it energy. Let's take the agency part of it, the personal agency of it away, and no, you're not a soul. You know, you're energy that can't be created or destroyed, but changes from form to form. That means, how cruel is it that energy, it can't be created or destroyed, but they have convinced all of you that you are a specific form, and when that form changes, you think it's death. You guys understand what I'm saying? Like, say something, yo. I'm honestly like, anybody there? Oh yeah, I forgot. You know, the moment does not belong to my ideas. My ideas, everything I'm saying to you is a part of my moment. It can never constitute the whole of it. In the same way they say, yo, man, we can't explain why existence exists based on just what's inside it. And we can't limit what everything is based on just what we're experiencing inside of our existence. So we can't limit the experiential truth just to what we're experiencing. And we know for a fact that there's 8.1 billion versions of human beings. They're like, all right, man, we're like, at least we're not clones. Like, before you sleep, thank God that we're not clones. If we were clones, life would have one purpose, just one thing everybody would have to do in the outer realms, and at the same time, everything else would be a blind spot. But now, they were like, let me tell you what it is. Imagine there's an advanced, this is super sci-fi, but I'm going to say it, okay? And I'm a sci-fi writer, so, you know, those who know that the future is important. So I'm probabilizing it here, okay? This is abstract, but I'm saying imagine right now, before there was any civilization, there was just animals in the loop of nature. Imagine there was an advanced extraterrestrial force armada, like an advanced extraterrestrial unit in the outer space, like, outside of the atmosphere of Earth, and they're like, all right, guys, okay, this is a planet. What do we do with it? You know what I mean? This planet is just like animals, and they have the potential to notice more of their world and elevate to our level, right? But, they're still trapped in nature. What do we do, right? And imagine they're like, yo, let's inhabit this planet. Why not live here, guys? Imagine. And then imagine there's an extraterrestrial general that says we cannot intervene. We cannot enter as unknown agents into their known agency. It will disturb their system. Right? Like, in the same way, like, imagine somebody's writing a novel. You don't want to go shake their hand or like shake their shoulder, you know what I mean? In the same way, imagine this hypothetical setting. This extraterrestrial unit is like, this extraterrestrial armada, like, they're like, all right, man, we can't just go and land there, okay? But what we can do as very advanced, let's say, hypothetical fictional beings, is we can enter the planetary field of being and emerge out of it, and that way know the world just like how we can know ourselves, right? And imagine the general was like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, like, we can do that. And imagine this advanced. They want to make this planet very advanced, but they don't want to intervene with its natural development. They don't want to come and bulldozer the natural evolution and, to dehumanize it, right? So they're like, okay, we are the dehumanized force. We will humanize. Do you understand? And imagine now, the command that extraterrestrial general gave to that armada was that all of you, imagine, this is very abstract and hypothetical, I'm creating it on the spot, but imagine that extraterrestrial was a general, looked at its extraterrestrial armada, and he's like, all the purest and most advanced, like the greatest, most able conscious beings of that general's armada would come to the front lines, and he would say, you all will experience the toughest moments, but you all need to go through until we can get the whole crew there. Imagine. So they're like, how long does this take? They're like, all right, let's give it like 13.8 billion, not 13, let's give it 4.5 billion years. Okay? And this extraterrestrial armada begins, right? And the general, in some sense, is both there and not there. Okay? To be able to say, usually the general, okay, is like not actually there. The general consciousness, like, based on that hypothetical situation I was telling you, sci-fi situation, the general is probably outside of space, like outside of Earth, watching Earth. Okay? If there is trouble the general comes to the front lines if they really mess up, but they shouldn't, you know? So the strongest souls of that extraterrestrial armada, they went and reincarnated as like freaking the chain of evolution. It was like single cell organism, then multi-cell organism, then a vertebrate organism. It has a backbone. That's when the evolution started having a backbone finally. Okay, and then after it had a backbone, it became an evolutionary animal that could generate milk. Believe it or not, it became a mammal. Right, and then after that, just layers of sophistication in regards to psychology entering, and in some sense man being able to separate himself not just physically from the environment, but separate himself from his physical self by an idea of himself. They're like, dude, are you out of body? I'm like, that's what identifying with an ego is. It's an out of body experience. The ego is not your body. The idea of you is not a body. If you right now think you're your name, you're having an out of body experience. I'm serious. That's why I'm laughing. Oh man, my cappuccino became cold. Guys, I might have an existential panic attack. What allows honesty to be there is the I don't knows, not the I knows. When you can be present simply in a moment and be like, and just ask yourself, do I know who I am? And if the honest answer is like, no, I don't really know who I am. And if they're like, okay, do I know where I am? And if you're honest, you deep down feel like, okay, how can I know where I am when this is 95% of it is unknown? Okay. And there's a reason I say 95%, because it's like dark energy, dark matter, these are part of the percentages. Dude, being human is weird. Being normal is even weirder when we all have different DNAs and different viewpoints. People think adjusting to past forms means that they are the same value as the past form. Never. Every time I have prayed in this life as a Muslim, it has never been the same. I have broken down on the prayer mat as if ashamed by feeling the presence. To me, God has a majesty to it. You don't understand. When I say majesty, it's might. It's not just God is all knowing. God is also all powerful. All knowing means it's the most powerful in the inner realms. We know little in the inner realms. In the outer realms, it's the most absolute unconditional idea of power. That means, to me, I have had tragic moments as someone who had the idea of religion in my upbringing, right? And regardless of how spiritual I was like living as a yogi, like yogic values, Hindu values, right? Imagine you are, let's go back to that fictional extraterrestrial armada. Now imagine, even me, I'm imagining myself. I enter this system. I remember suddenly that there is a higher position to my being, to all being. I suddenly remember the strategy. Like I remember my, let's say, command of my soul. And I see this world, and it's like suddenly I've woken up in my inner realms, but in the outer realms, the species hasn't woken up. Okay? What do? I would say the general is watching. Yo, the general is watching. Yo, the greatest being, the God, like for humans it would be God is watching. The greatness is watching. It's a divine surveillance state. Everything's being logged. Greatness is watching us. The absolute is watching us. Okay, what does that mean? So it would be like, yo, the general's watching, and why not rank up? Why not use this realm to rank up in the presence of the actual reality? Right? And what I would do is like, how do I rank up? Oh yeah, it's based on the mission I complete. What is my mission? Solve a micro problem of humanity or solve a macro problem of humanity? And I'm like, macro problems are cooler, bro. Like micro problems, I understand. It's there. Sometimes you have to solve micro problems to access details. You know, to me, it's just, you know how in video games you can pick up like items from the ground. To me, it's sometimes like all information is like picking up viewpoints. There is no one viewpoint. This isn't Lord of the Rings. Oh my God, one viewpoint to rule them all, to rule all viewpoints. It's like, nah, man, everybody relax. We're in a system and you can look at it from many angles in regards to objectivity, subjectivity. They're both schooled by infinity. And really, if you really want to know, in Mr. Within's opinion, what an advanced psyche is, it's a psyche that acknowledges four quadrants of reality. To me, that's an advanced being. It's the simultaneous way. It's called when you wear the ring of the absent heaven. Okay? That's what I call it. It's something I've created. It's something years ago, I think in 2018, I was like, raging about it, But anyways, what it is the ring of the absent heaven. What these four quadrants are that I think will constitute a very advanced being. Like if you're aware of these four quadrants, you're automatically advanced. What are these four quadrants? I call it zero, the number 1, the number 2, and then the infinity symbol. And I am telling you, each of these is a quadrant, and all human conceptualization is falling into one of these. But the advanced position, I'll tell you what it is. One quadrant is you as an intelligent being, look at this reality and you're like, it's singular. I'm a single being, it's a single moment, it's a single world, it's the individual, it's the number 1. Okay? Then let's say even before that, you have the number 0. Okay, the moment has no value. The moment is empty. There's no being there. It's a hollow simulation, To me, immaterialists are in the 0 quadrant. They don't understand. They're nullifying. They're nullifying the context, therefore denying their own mysterious potential, their unknown potential. So one quadrant is 0. Your intelligence has an ability to see nothing and everything. These people, I call them the voidists. Those who believe everything is singular, everything is individual, those are the singularians. Man, I'm remembering it. It's the singularians, I call them. And then you have those who see reality as a duality. There's never just one thing. It's like two things. And we're identifying with one side of each. These are the dualists, okay? Or the dualitarians, okay? That means to them, there is never just one truth. Truth is one side of the coin. And then you have the 4th quadrant. Now, why do I make the 4th quadrant the infinity symbol? And why do I say ring of absent heaven? Because they loop, okay? Until you wear the ring, which I'll tell you, this is all metaphors. So the last quadrant, the fourth quadrant is infinity. Why? Because duality can multiply by itself endlessly, like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And it's very hard for me to explain this, but once you have duality, you have infinity. There's no need for 3, 4. All the other numbers are kind of unnecessary. Do you know? Not unnecessary, but in my system, this is how I've designed it. Okay, this is how I've seen the design of it. Okay, now infinity means that you are not an individual. You're identifying with the force. So if 0 is you identifying with space, 1 is you identifying with form, Duality, you being identifying with world. Infinity is you identifying with endless potential, the opposite of the void, and you are an infinitist. Now, these are souls where these souls to me are souls that have no longer any sort of weight or burden with duality. That means they've matured beyond duality. Think of it this way: human beings are like 0, 1, 2 state. Okay? They can see things as empty, they can see things as dual, and they can see things as singular. Okay? But if you realize sandwiched between 0 and 2 is infinity. And what I am telling you is, what does it mean to wear the ring of the absent heaven? So that means you could see void being, empty being, emptiness. You could see the singularity. You could see a duality. And then you could, this is so incomprehensible to us, but be, feel, see infinity, infinitely. Sometimes in my inner realms, I wrote a book called The Inventor's Sphere. I'm going to put it in the bookstore soon. I wrote it years ago. Before I even gave the talks, I had written ridiculous amounts of writings. Anyways, folks, I understand what Carl Jung means, and when you see further than others, you're alone, but it doesn't mean you're alone. You might be in the outer realms alone, but you're never alone in purpose. There has been incredible moments where I felt abandoned by my own, I had abandoned myself. I felt that. I felt like, okay, I only exist to myself now, and I didn't like how I existed to myself. So I was like, yo, I legit like feel like I don't exist to myself, even though I'm playing this act of being something here. But the unknown was liberating. The unknown was a reality check in me asking, what does honesty mean? My parents raised me and my brother to be honest people. When we were young, they came up to us one day and they were like, kids, be good people. Like legit, that was like, it was as if like my parents said it, and we were like, all right, we hugged our parents and left, went to play, right? But that was like some program, right? And I was like, okay, my mother told me to be honest. What does that honesty mean? My mother told me to be good. What does good mean? And then I was like, okay, its meaning is based on the world. But then I realized it is neither an honest world. It can be, but some parts of it are not honest and some parts of it are not good. And I was like, yo, my mother told me to be a good and honest person in a system that is not good and honest. And I was like, okay, what is the challenge here? Right? And I tried to solve it like a problem. It was like some sort of existential dilemma problem. Right? And then I understood, okay, it's not good and honest now. Right now it's not good and honest. The future I found another option through the future. I'm like, wait a minute, right? It doesn't matter if there is the most demented human beings in front of me. Do you understand? It's their potential can be good. I can see them behave differently and be realigned to a different energy. Do you understand? And believe it or not, this is my deep down, I know this, that the grandchildren of the most evil people are like these brave souls that have come to remind them of the great plan of humanity surpassing individual claim. Like it's not even, it's unsightly to want to control something that is beyond you. And the ego thinks it can, but it limits itself. And you know, when you loop for a while, you actually, how do I say it? Dehumanization means you stop caring for the human. If they stop making you care for human values, you become dehumanized. In the future, this is why I'm saying being a biological human is a phase, maybe a couple thousand years, and if we're smart and figure it out, it may be immortally. It'll be just a room. They're like, dude, on like Monday. I'm gonna go inside and experience a biological body. On Tuesday, my consciousness is gonna go into cyber state, and I'm gonna be some sort of like, deity in cyberspace. And then on like Wednesday, I'm gonna go and be like some sort of consciousness on a planetary scale. I mean, I'm going more into my science fiction here, but you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that being alone, Aristotle was like, you're either a beast or a god. But to me, being alone is what it feels like to be reminded of the unknown. The unknown takes away the burden of reality because you can't know everything from here. Knowledge is like a telescope. It's like an invisible telescope. We're all just trying to see further. What really is going on is there has been like AI. I asked AI and it said like there's been 117 billion human beings that have existed in like the last 300,000 years of civilizational activity. And that means there's been 117 billion human strategies, human tactics. And the strategy is the advancement of humanity, and we should be honored by great purpose. And what greater purpose than to activate the advanced potential of our species? That's the only argument. I was like, yo, it's like right before I was about to go to war with the chaos in my universe, there suddenly came like this vibe where it was like, hold up, man. First see if the chaos can realize it doesn't even need to be there. You see, what's worse than evil is unnecessary evil. That's like, dude, that's unnecessary. This life we're going to be so advanced. Ethics is going to evolve. Ethics and philosophy, they're like, dude, every location and people raised in whatever location, their sense of right and wrong is coming from their environment. So ethics is locally different. Everybody's sense of what is right and wrong is different. But when it comes to how we experience the human experience, like how we're actually experiencing the human position, right? It's as if like there's a hidden language of all of us knowing what it's like to be a human. And when we see somebody suffer, our brain is like, buddy, it's like that could be you one day. You're like, holy shit, like you run to help. So you got to be, in some sense, we got to attend honorably. What I'm trying to do is because the reason there's chaos and madness in civilization and mental health issues is because civilization doesn't have a purpose and it doesn't have honor. Civilization 1.0 is honorless, and all egos are trying to act kings and feel they can access honor that way. No. The true reality, as I said earlier in the talk, God is like, I don't know if I said it in this talk or not, but at some point I saw it that my body is a soldier, my mind is a commanding officer, imagine, this is just a metaphor, and my soul is a general, and God is an emperor, but God cannot be humanized, in my view. God is not equal to its creation. Creation can think it's equal, but that's creation's ignorance. Anyways, folks, right now is 8:45 p.m. I gave a post on YouTube that a Discord event is going to start, so I'm going to hop onto that. And you guys have an option to stay as ghosts or actually come and manifest, and if you've cared, like, come and share. So the last thing I'll say about this Carl Jung's quote, this is a tribute. Carl Jung was a very deep viewer of reality, observer of reality, and yet even as this quote, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Oh my god, the Shirin Sargadot quote tunnel. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna actually go into a code tunnel. So if there's anybody on Discord, okay, I'm gonna go on Discord. So I'm gonna go, let me go start the event on Discord so people know that the event is there. The brave souls who care to step into Mr. Within's Discord server called the School of Athens 2.0, yo. Alright, event is started. So guys, the Discord link is in the channel description. And I'm going to go into a Shri Nisargadatta quote tunnel right now. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj was that Indian person I said earlier that he was enlightened. His friend took him to an enlightened guru. The enlightened guru told him to just like know yourself or something like that. And every day he wondered about what the self is until he led to all these quotes. So I'm going to read Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj quotes right now, okay? Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, know yourself to be the changeless witness of the changeful mind. That is enough. Yo, why isn't the audio playing? I don't get it. What? Okay, I guess it only works for my speakers, so the audio might be a bit weird, but whatever. Maybe you can hear it. Okay, we're gonna go into a Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj quote tunnel. So the second quote, Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, once you realize that the world is your own projection, you are free of it. You need not free yourself of a world that does not exist, except in your own imagination. However is the picture beautiful or ugly, you are painting it and you're not bound by it. Realize that there's nobody to force it on you, that it is due to the habit of taking the imaginary to be real. See the imaginary as imaginary and be free of fear. That's the discrimination between the inner realms and outer realms that I keep making. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, instead of searching for what you do not have, find out what it is that you have never lost. And that's the potential of the civilization. That's what I realized at least. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when I look inside and see that I'm nothing, that's wisdom. When I look outside and see that I'm everything, that's love. And between these two, my life turns. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, shift your attention from words to silence and you will hear. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, realize that your world is only a reflection of yourself and stop finding fault with the reflection. Attend to yourself, set yourself right mentally and emotionally. The physical self will follow automatically. It's pretty much saying a line from within. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, to know that you are a prisoner of your mind is the dawn of wisdom. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, if you seek reality, you must set yourself free of all backgrounds, of all cultures, of all patterns of thinking and feeling. Even the idea of being man or woman or even human should be discarded. The ocean of life contains all, not only humans. So first of all, abandon all self-identification. Stop thinking of yourself as such and such or so and so, this or that. Abandon all self-concern, worry not about your welfare, material or spiritual. Abandon every desire, gross or subtle. Stop thinking of achievement of any kind. You're complete here and now. You need absolutely nothing. So guys, the Civ 2.0 is after you've realized this nothing. Then you can see Civilization 2.0. And then in this, it's like technically it happens by itself. Civilization 2.0, think of it this way, there's like the invisible greatness of our species, and our civilization is watching over us. If we trust the system, it activates. And to me, this is where I said it early on, that I'm not like these gurus. To me, I believe that once you've made contact with the unknown, that's where you begin wondering, why are you being a self? And it's not that an ego lives the life. What in Christianity, in major religious traditions, there's always a renunciation, right? In ancient Hindu traditions, it was extreme renunciation, but in let's say the religions that modernity acknowledges, it is the renunciation of the self that is defined by the past, and it is to land, it's like you were a bird on a branch, and you were looping on that branch, and you fly into an unknown sky, an unknown state, and what you see from that state, if you trust it, also you see it. But what you see in that state, if it's important to you, you already know what to do. That's the secret. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, we miss the real by lack of attention and create the unreal by excessive imagination. Yeah, but imagination is not imagination. Imagination is in some sense God's will behind our eyes. It's our relationship with the system admin. But the words, if you identify with the words, that's more like a relationship with the anti-human moderator, if you think you're the words. But if you identify as the original state, that's when you realize that there is something true before the false was an identity. Do you understand? The presence of it is true. Personalities come and go, everything else changes, but the presence is truly there. The presence of being itself. Existence is instantaneously existing, and we are instantaneously being our intelligence. Sri Nisargadatta says, there is nothing wrong with duality as long as it does not create conflict. Multiplicity and variety without strife is joy. In pure consciousness there is light. For warmth, contact is needed. Above the unity of being is the union of love. Love is the purpose of duality. And what being do we know that its love is infinite, all loving? It is the system admin. The unconditional has authored the conditional, folks. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, my actual experience is not different. It is my evaluation and attitude that differ. I see the same world as you do, but not the same way. There's nothing mysterious about it. Everybody sees the world through the idea he has of himself. As you think yourself to be, so you think the world to be. If you imagine yourself as separate from the world will appear as separate from you, and you will experience desire and fear. Yeah, I do not see the world as separate from me, and so there's nothing for me to desire or fear. Yeah, and Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj is a perfect example of a perfected being in the inner realms. That means he's a dude that in some sense in the inner realms, according to the law, how the inner realms happen, he is absolutely correct. But the outer realms is a different game. It's like, dude, your car engine is broken and you're just hugging your car and you're like, it's love and this car is a part of me. And it's like, relax, bro, we need to fix the engine. That's what Civilization 2.0 is. Somebody has to come and fix up the design. It's misleading itself by looping. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the silence between the words were spoken, the silence before the words were spoken, is it different from the silence that came after? That means that silence has no identity, stillness has no identity, statues don't have personalities. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, nothing can make you happier than you are. All search for happiness is misery and leads to more misery. The only happiness worth the name is the natural happiness of conscious being. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you have projected onto yourself a world of your own imagination based on memories, on desires and fears, and you have imprisoned yourself in it. Break the spell and be free. That's what I mean. It's like that's Civilization 1.0, yo. There's an advanced potential for a more higher resolution experience human beings can have, but they're looping in the lower resolution. And I'm like, dude, we got to change the settings. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, You're not the mind. If you know you are not the mind, then what difference does it make if it's busy or quiet? You're not the mind. That means, dude, if you're enlightened, what difference does it make if you're enlightened or not? There's no difference, because there's a greater view to the context. The context, it's not that the concept is enslaving you. The context you think you can only be a context in is enslaving you. The context can change, yo. It's a changing world. Both concepts and contexts are both changing. But human civilization is looping in the same story for too long, and I'm like, what is this? Somebody has to say something. They're like, Mr. Within was that human being that was just like very shy, and then suddenly he's like, dude, I'm getting offended by how my species is looping, and he started roaring. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, keep reading my quotes. I'm kidding. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you cannot change the course of events, but you can change your attitude, and what really matters is the attitude and not the mere event. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you're late for your Discord, it's fine. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, do you realize the unimaginable greatness, the holiness of what you so casually call consciousness? It is the unmanifest, absolute, aware of its awareness through the manifestation, of which your mind body is presently a part. Did you hear that? It is the unmanifest absolute, with a capital A, it's written here. It is the unmanifest absolute, aware of its own, of its awareness through the manifestation. Do you know what that means? That means it's like this unconditional force, this absolute unconditional force is aware. It's aware through a manifest position. And then Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, I'll read it again. It says, it is the unmanifest absolute, aware of its awareness through the manifestation of which your mind body is presently a part. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when pain is accepted for what it is, a lesson and a warning, and deeply looked into and heeded, the separation between pain and pleasure breaks down. Both become just experience, painful when resisted, joyful when accepted. And that's why, there should be an expression like chill like a Taoist, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when you demand nothing of the world, nor of God, when you want nothing, seek nothing, expect nothing, then the supreme state will come to you uninvited and unexpected. Yeah, because what's the point of that awareness? A complete reformation in the outer realms. That's what happens when your awareness changes. Your behavior changes too, because you're not the same concept, because the context is expanded. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when you sit quietly and watch yourself, many things may come to the surface. Do nothing about them. Don't react to them. As they have come, so will they go by themselves. All that matters is mindfulness, total awareness of oneself, or rather of one's mind. Guys, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj is pretty much saying, like, yo, just watch your thoughts, like, in Tibetan Buddhism, they would say, like clouds passing through a clear sky. Let your awareness be like a clear sky, and the ideas and emotions are like clouds passing by. Like, you don't need to think about anything. You don't need to think about that thought you thought again. Like, you just need to watch. When you go to a cinema, you have no expectations of the screen. In the same way, he's saying, like, watch how, like, the idea that caused you suffering comes and goes, yo. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, pain is physical, suffering is mental. Beyond the mind, there is no suffering. Pain is essential for survival of the body, but none compels you to suffer. Suffering is due entirely to clinging or resisting. It is a sign of our unwillingness to move on, to flow with life. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, awareness neither dies nor is reborn. It is the changeless reality itself. Yeah, I mean, how do we notice change, It's like these guys are saying we're changelessly present. What have I been freaking about? Freaking freaking out about. Like, it's like I'm changelessly noticing change. What he means is that your presence, there's divinity. Your personality is part of that divinity, but it's not the whole divinity. That means there's somebody being divine. It's about how they're present in their moment, what they're in the presence of. Okay? It's not like, yo, man, if I put my foot behind my neck, am I gonna see God? It's like, relax, It's like, it's about just noticing that you're being something right now, that you're present right now. I mean, like, and it's like, dude, have I been like punishing myself with having so many endless ideas to myself? Why couldn't I just see it's just here, man? Like, dude, I'm not alone. My body's chilling here. Yo, I'm not alone. All the ideas I have are chilling here. I'm not alone. There's a planet here. Like, the loneliness is if you don't have purpose. If you have purpose, it converts into solitude. So loneliness plus purpose equals solitude. Okay, that means you're not alone. You're walking. It's like, dude, does a mountain climber feel alone? No, it doesn't matter. The mountain climber is inspired by where it's moving towards. So loneliness just means, all right, solo driving, solo piloting, But your loneliness is also based on what you want out of the moment, right? They're like expectations cause suffering, desires cause suffering. Anyways, guys, I'm going to read the last two quotes, and I'll be done with these 25, quotes from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj that I read for you. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, awareness neither dies nor is reborn. It is the changeless reality itself. Okay, maybe I read that. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the way to truth lies through the destruction of the false. To destroy the false, you must question your most inveterate beliefs. Okay, I gotta look up that word. What does it mean? Inveterate means having a particular habit, activity, or interest that is long established and unlikely to change. Yeah, pretty much it means looping, to destroy the false. So I'll read it again. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the way to truth lies through the destruction of the false. To destroy the false, you must question your most inveterate beliefs. Of these, the idea that you are the body is the worst. With the body comes the world. With the world, comes God, who's supposed to have created the world, and thus it starts. Fears, religions, prayers, sacrifices, all sorts of systems, all to protect and support the child man, frightened out of his wits by monsters of his own making. Realize that what you are cannot be born nor die, and with the fear gone, all suffering ends. And that's really where faith is trying to get religious people to. But because their faith is conditional, they don't access it. Unconditional faith means you trust the moment before the moment needs to do anything. It's like you're a friend, your soul is a friend of your own moment of being. And let me just read one more quote. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, there's only one meditation, the rigorous refusal to harbor thoughts. Do you understand what he means? He's saying, like, he's pretty much saying, yo, you're looping in the inner realms, and that's why you're suffering in the outer realms, right? And he's saying when you realize you're neither the inner realms or the outer realms, because you're simultaneously the awareness of both, and there's a shift. So anyways, like, what does loneliness really mean? What is it that's lonely? Is the idea of me lonely? Is my body lonely? Is my consciousness lonely? What does it mean? What does even fulfillment mean? And so in some sense, we should not fear the unknown, because in the unknown, that's where the variations and probabilities of reality are. It's like you go through the unknown portal and you access a completely new universe. The unknown is like the space between the words in this great book of mystery. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, in honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return to, in the presence of the system admin and the original being to this existential system and simulation. You are all simulated beings. I'm simulated here. The world is simulated before our consciousness. In our consciousness, we simulate our identity, but it's all like a strange theater performance for what really only God knows. But on some level, we are designed, and it's pretty much like one of God's creations being like, yo, am I existing right now? Right? And it's like, why was I created? So when it doesn't matter what it was, it's like, dude, like a spatula, a car, it's like anything can become conscious. It will ask the question, why am I this? Right? Like that's natural. Right? And so when it asks, why am I this? It's wondering about the depths of its being, and then it shifts from the stories that justify the loneliness. So the more it dehumanizes, there is no loneliness. It's just presence of being. It's like, dude, is energy lonely if it has a personality? So anyways, thank you for listening. And guys, in 7 days, I'm going to take a very long break. And if you've listened for hours to my lectures, like you have a DNA nobody else has, you have perspectives nobody else has, come and share them. Do you know what I mean? Civilization 2.0 is not just a one-man project. I'm just trying to get the species to sing the songs of the advanced civilization. And then once I see that it's echoing, like, then it's kind of like I can relax and go and become an inventor. So anyways, thank you for listening. Have a great night. And for those of you who want to attend Discord, come and chill.